Welcome to a wash with colour on the magical scenery of West Donegal, where music and art are woven into the landscape from mountain to sea.
And later, I'll be introducing my special painting partner, who's no stranger to composition. There's no doubting the rugged beauty of this landscape, where the coastline plunges into the sea and gives way to miles of sandy beach.
And nowhere is it more apparent than here at Slieve League, Europe's highest sea cliff. And below me is the giant's table and chair, where the sea used to come for high tea. And this could well be the steepest beach, or so my granny said. She came from here. Now, when I was a child, I used to love counting the steps on the way down to the sand. I think there were about 120. But I'll tell you what, I'll just check. No, it was 150. But then I forgot I used to make my toes upside down.
All around the coast are hidden coves and beaches, as important for fishing as they were for smuggling in days gone by.
And here at Teelan they had not just one, but 2 Coast Guard stations, keeping an eye on all that seafaring traffic. To be sure, to be sure.
And one man who knows all about the seafaring life is ex-Navy chaplain turned artist Kenneth King.
From my earliest years, I just had a love of the sea, a fascination. I was born and bred in Dalkey on the East Coast. When I came to, and I went to sea in the Royal Navy, I graduated from small rowing boats in harbours on the East Coast to frigates and destroyers and aircraft carriers in the Navy. But the sea was there all the time, be it the rowing boat or be it a frigate out in the North Atlantic, dipping its quarterdeck. You know, it's and then you've got a new appreciation of the sea from the stuff lapping on the shore. You suddenly found in the mid-Atlantic or wherever, it's a heaving mass. You know, mountains rising and going down again, ships disappearing, just their upper works, that sort of thing. You know.
I've had a look at the paintings in your gallery and the feeling of the sea is just oozing out of them. Now I suppose it must help to be at sea for a long time to get that feeling.
It really gets under the skin. It's my sole motivation as an artist. I'm driven to paint. If I'm away on holidays, if I'm out of the studio or whatever for more than a few days, I get itchy feet. I want to get back, you know. But it's the sea. And the seascapes, it's the land in its relationship to the sea. I wouldn't see myself necessarily as a landscape painter at all, but the sea in relation to the land. There's a saying here in Glencolmkill, Imí na daoine ach fann na crick, Gaelic. The people go, but the hills remain. And you look at those headlands there, they've been battling against the Atlantic for thousands of years, you know. There's a drama, an elemental drama about that, you know, which sort of switches me on, you know. Also, it's history. The waters out behind us are the Spanish Armada. They had the French fleets in 1798, the famine emigration, the Second World War. There's history in these waters behind us.
And the light is always changing.
I often wonder, has it something to do with the Atlantic? that there's no land, there's a huge area of ocean, and maybe that has something to do with the light then when it hit when you deal with Ireland, the first piece of land on the western coast of Ireland. But the light changes are amazing. Further northeast of here, Glen Lough, with huge, the highest sea stack on the Irish coast, Tormore, 480 feet high, a huge rock separated by 2 metres from the mainland. Other huge rocks, sea sculpted, over the years. Tremendous drama. Tremendous sea sculpture.
But the area around here must be perfect for you.
Yeah. A place I mentioned now, Glen Lough, which is northeast here. It's the second glen up from here. And in the 1920s, that American artist, Rockwell Kent, stayed there. And he painted the coast northeast of here. And there's no access by road to that place. So, you really need to be driven to do it.
Well, what about a studio on a boat?
A studio on a boat? You want to watch the Turks?
You can see why Kenneth came as a tourist instead to paint. The area has played host to lots of artists and still has its fair share of tourists in the summer, including Jane Lorimer, an award-winning young artist from Belfast.
Well, I must say, Jane, I'm sure you get a lot of inspiration in this area for your shell paintings and drawings.
Yes, the beach is beautiful and all the cottages and things, but I really love the detail on all these shells. It's so easy to find something to look at, and just the colours in particular are very strong when you look at them closely.
Yeah. Have you an interest in paintings of the sea and the seashore?
Yeah, even for my GCSE project, we were given a theme: the green, the good, and the bad, and the ugly. And I was sort of explored green to the full, and just found the sea to be the source of most inspiration. I've been drawing for an awful long time, since I was really young, and in fact I've won a few competitions recently. The Texaco Art competition, it's an all-Ireland painting thing.
And are you still at school?
I am, yes. I'm in my last year of A-levels.
What do you hope to do after that?
I'm not sure whether to go to art college or architecture, I think.
Well, I would say no matter what you decide to do, you'll have a fantastic and successful career.
Thank you.
It's been nice to meet you. At one time, the young people of this area had to travel to England or America to get work. But today, the communities are bringing back the old traditions and crafts and giving them a new lease of life.
And Margaret Cunningham is doing just that. She has got together with a local art group and is weaving the past into the present.
There was a very big tradition, and it was the whole family all took part in everything, from the children picking the crothel, the lichens for dyeing, to the carding, the woman who card then, or the children who card, for the women spinning up, and then the husbands would do the weaving.
And how did it all start for you?
It was a course advertised to save the traditional skills and to bring them into a sort of modern medium of tapestry weaving. And I was at a loose end at the time, so I applied for the course. Tapestry means Gaelic tapestry, and it started up in 1993, where 6 locals came together to learn the traditional skills of spinning, natural dyeing and weaving from the older people of the area. So we also learned an appreciation of different types of weaving from, let's say, South America. We had visitors, 2 Guatemalan ladies here, and we also visited Denmark to learn the Norwegian type of weaving there. And the great thing now is sometimes we go to America and mix with some of the weavers over there. Like we were in New Mexico, or last year we were in Seattle, and we taught some workshops there and learned quite a bit from our trips. I like to look very close at the texture, like taking a close look at the landscape itself to bring out the colour. And also the cultural symbols, like in particular archaeology of the area, the Columkill Station standing stones. I would take a lot of symbolism from that, because I think the symbols of different cultures really sum up things for what's particular to that culture, and also what's stood the test of time over the years. Basically I would do that, and then I would look closely at the colour of the design that I've made, and then I would choose if I have to dye the wool, or what different textures of wool. Like sometimes I might use silk or carpet yarn or mixture of homespun, because one texture will set the other texture off and you work them all together. So then you'll make up your basket of wool and you'll warp up the frame, and you'll make the design bigger by using an overhead projector. So you'll have the design to the back of the upright frame, you'll have the warp, and then basically you weave in the shape of the design to the back.
What was it like growing up around here, Margaret?
Oh, it was fantastic. We were always building huts or working at hair, things like that. Or everybody's very close to the beach here also, and the landscape lends itself so well to the work that we're doing. There's so many different colours. Like nothing ever looks the same. Even the next 5 minutes could be different.
And now it's time to introduce my special painting partner. And there's no better man, singer Brian Kennedy.
My parents didn't really have music about them. I mean, they might sing a bit maybe in the kitchen or in the living room, but in a very kind of distracted way. There wasn't any sense of musicianship in the family, really. But once my eldest brother started to play in bands and so on, then we discovered that there was a little bit of it going on in say, distant cousins and things like that. But as far as the singing goes, I literally would be walking down the street and there'd be an ambulance flying by, and I'd stick in a harmony to the ambulance or to the fire engine. And that's literally how it would happen. I just seemed to want to respond in a melodic way to the surrounding I was growing up in.
Don't let yourself go, 'cause everybody cries, and everybody hurts sometimes.
But over the last number of years, you've worked with a wide range of international and Irish artists.
God, I've been so fortunate. I suppose immediately Van Morrison springs to mind. That has been an incredible experience. The last 5.5 years, I've sung on 5 of his albums, and got to sing with John Lee Hooker, of course, with him on the San Francisco tour, which became a live album. I got to sing with Stevie Wonder at Ronnie Scott's in London there at the launch of his record. Sang "You Are the Sunshine of My Life" with him. That was an amazing thing. We got to tour with Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell there last year. Got to sing with her a little bit. It's been an incredible 5 years. It seems to be an invisible force. It's not something that's palpable. I get up in the morning and I seem to be humming to myself already. I'm thinking about music, I'm thinking about songs all the time. The great privilege in making music for a living allows that. You know, I'm not worrying about how I'm going to pay my gas bill. I'm thinking about, well, how am I going to make that song better? What chords will I figure out today on the guitar or the piano? And it's really a great privilege to be able to spend my life doing that.
So what's next for Brian Kennedy?
This new album, Now That I Know What I Want, it's called, the duet with Ronan Keating. Very much looking forward to that being around, because it's a fantastic song. See, I can say this because I didn't write the song. And just more collaborations, more records, more touring, as much work as possible. I love it. I really love it. It's like what you do, when you actually do what you love to do for a living, you can't help but give 200% to it.
Well, tell me about painting, Brian. Have you ever tried that?
Beyond a couple of window frames and a door, not really. I mean, I did sketch a wee bit at school, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the things I loved about school. But then, what happens, you get older and get distracted by things, and music really absolutely took me over, so haven't had much of an opportunity now to do it.
What about waterfalls? Are you any good at
Well, I wouldn't mind standing underneath that one. It looks gorgeous, doesn't it? But no, not really.
No, well, I'm not going to ask you to paint the waterfall. I have another location just a few hundred yards down the road, and it's an absolutely splendid sight. I think the sun's going to come out, so we'll go and have a look at it. Well, we've just come a short walk from the waterfall, Brian.
Yeah.
And here we have a fantastic painting location. What do you think of it?
I think it's incredible. I mean, look at all the different colours, the blue and the dark green. How on earth are you going to get all that onto a bit of paper?
Oh, well, just treat it very, very simply. You see, the thing about this peninsula that we're on, Brian, there's so many painting possibilities. You can just turn anywhere. And the problem is knowing where to set up.
Yeah, exactly. You could start anywhere, look.
You could indeed. You're better to get
the first thing that strikes you as a painting, just set up and start to paint it.
Right.
Like this mountain that we have in the middle distance
Yeah.
is a fantastic location. The way it sweeps down to meet the sea. And you can have so many paintings here because we have the sun on the mountain, so therefore we have a nice bright mountain and a dark
Yeah.
background. If we had the sun behind the mountain, then we have a dark mountain, which is a totally different painting.
Yeah, of course.
We can paint it as it is now with the tide in.
Yeah,
That's another painting. Or we can paint it with the tide out in the evening.
absolutely. Sounds a good idea to me.
But before we start, we have to get a sketch down. So
Right.
what I'm going to do is hand the pencil over to you. And
Here we go.
just starting about there, bring that mountain as it sweeps down to the sea. And it's not the mountains anymore, it's sweeping down to the sea.
Oh, I feel a song coming on.
Now let's get the sky on. And we're going to treat
Yeah.
that very boldly because we don't want to give definite shapes of clouds.
I think we should be bold at this point.
Right, well let's
definitely.
get cracking then. So the first thing we have to do is wet part of the paper.
Right.
Just with the 3/4 inch flat brush. So off you go. Just put that on and swirl it around. Don't have it. Keep it the water more towards the bottom and the
Okay.
middle of the sky. That's lovely. That's plenty there. Now we're going to go on with a very pale raw sienna colour. This is for the warmth that is within the cloud itself.
Right.
And we just put a bit of that in. Now it's going to run all over the place. Don't worry about the runs. As long as you don't let it come over the background hills.
Okay.
There you go.
What do you call that colour? Sienna.
Raw sienna. It's a sort of tannish yellow colour. Not too much of it now, you know, just here and there. That's fine. That'll do. The next one is a mixture of crimson and ultramarine, and this is to give us some cloud shadow. Now if we work that into
Yeah.
the bottom side of the cloud, the underside of the cloud.
Oh yeah.
Try some over here above the mountain as well.
You sure about letting me doing this now?
No, it's okay. You don't panic, you see, because
Yeah.
the cloud, the sky.
Looks like a storm, that part anyway.
Well, doesn't it look like a storm out there? You know,
Does,
so
yeah. Doesn't matter.
don't let's worry too much about it. The next colour we have to put on is cerulean blue with a little bit of crimson, and this is to give the paler shade of blue just above the clouds.
Right.
And if you just take that and work it into the drying wash, just work it into this wash here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so that it blends. The whole thing is to continue. You hear
Okay.
whenever it's scratching like that, then the brush is too dry, you need to go back. So work that across. Lovely. But we don't worry about the runs at this stage.
Right.
In fact, a good thing to do is just take the excess paint off the brush and get rid of those bubbles.
Oh, you see? That's why you're a painter and I'm not. Well done.
There you go. Just draw that across the paper and
What skill.
it'll vacuum up. Very good, Brad.
Vacuum up.
Now the next colour is ultramarine with a touch of light red. Now let me just show you here. It's moving very, very lightly and pulling down now and again,
Right.
just to give a varying shape within the cloud itself.
Okay.
Let me give you more paint.
Yeah. That scratchy sound again.
Now pull it across, leaning lightly on the brush, and then you'll not let so much of the wash
Oh,
go
I
out
see.
of the brush.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Just dip the brush there and lift some of that and bring it over here. Lovely. And fan that out towards the end. That's it. Yep. I must say it's dried out pretty well, Brian.
Yeah, it
I'm
has,
pleased
isn't
with
it?
that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
It's dry now, so we can move
Oh, yeah.
on.
Great.
Yeah, you can. You're always best to test it with the back of your hand
Okay.
because there's
So as the fingerprints don't go on.
exactly. Yeah, but that's dry enough to let's go on with the mountain.
It's lovely.
Now, if you look at the top of the mountain, we have a certain amount of shadow up there,
Right.
and then the green look is coming as the mountain falls down towards the water.
Yeah.
So we want to try and get that darkness at the top first of all.
Okay.
And with the 3/4 inch flat brush again, using a mixture of ultramarine and light red, we just start and give us the outline of the mountain top. Now, doesn't that look very, very dark?
It certainly does.
Off you go. Try and keep the brush inside the pencil line
Okay.
so that you get that nice rough shape to the top. Come from the top down,
From the top down.
Yeah.
Going this way.
yeah, and down here as well. I'll just take another brush. Don't come down too far yet, Brent. Just
Alright.
come down this way here.
I'm so keen, you see.
Yeah, that's far enough because we have to bleed another colour in. Bring that
Okay.
down as well. That's enough of that colour. Now, just washing off the brush.
Mhm.
Again, we have to be working quickly. We just want to bleed some of the light red
yeah.
into that so that we get a change in the tone.
Mhm.
And then we're going into the green this time. So I want you to take that and bring that right down to the bottom.
Oh,
Here
great.
you go.
Okay.
Now I'll guide you down with that. That's it. Just cut around the outside of the shape of the mountain as we come down. Bring this here down now as well,
Oh yeah, because it's kind of...
and here as well. And now from there, pull it right down in a sweep. Lovely. That's fine. Now we have to work very quickly here,
Yeah.
Brian, while that underlying wash is drying.
Okay.
Because you can see that there are some dark shadows there, especially around the further points of the mountain. Just put in a few of those shadows. Always keeping the direction of the brush stroke.
Yeah.
That'll do. Don't take it down too far. There's a few in here as well, just in that area.
Sorry, did I paint your finger there?
I must say you've great control over the brush, Brian.
Oh, no,
That
sure.
It really does.
You're a
look
good
at-
teacher. Shall I crawl? I'll do the licking up to him now. You are though.
There you are. Just pull
Okay.
it down in a downward stroke. That's it. That's enough. Don't go too far. Now we want to blend that in because you see the way that looks very
Yeah.
broken at this stage.
It does.
Washing off the brush again. We go into the green. A little bit more water into that green this time, and we just blend those edges
Oh, yeah.
together. You see the way that just softens everything?
Yeah.
Now, while that wash is drying, Brian,
Yeah.
we'll put in some of those little stone walls now.
Okay.
Can we just use the blade of the penknife?
Uh-huh.
And let's see, there's one coming along there. Now you see what that's doing, like? It's
Yeah.
taking some of the paint off the paper, scratching back, and just using the knife on its edge. Not the point of the knife, but the flat of the blade.
Yeah.
There's another little wall coming down there. Do you want to try that?
Sure.
Take a couple down there. I'll just use the pencil to guide you through. That's it. Keep the fall of the mountain going. Another one. Bring that across that way. That's it. And a couple shooting up here. That's it. Well, that's the mountains more or less finished, Brian.
Yeah.
And you can see you have that variation in green with the little walls in there.
Yeah.
We have a darkness to represent the shadows and the forest on the side of the mountain. We don't want to get into too much detail.
No.
And then you've just put in these background hills
Yeah.
to show that layering effect, you know,
Sure.
of the distant mountain, then the near to distance, and then the middle distance.
You know, it really does remind me of songwriting in the in the way that you just layer upon layer. I think of songwriting like sculpture as well as painting, in that you just chip away and add layer by layer. I suppose with painting and sculpture, you take it away, and then often you set off thinking, well, I'll definitely do the song like this or the painting like this, and of course it turns into something completely
Yeah,
different.
yeah. You see, whenever you're writing a song,
Yeah.
you know, are you thinking of a finished story, you know, at the end of the lyrics?
If I start off with you know how you start off with subject matter?
Yeah.
If I can start off with a subject matter or a title, say, then I'm in great shape usually.
Yeah.
So it depends.
It's just a matter of finding something to fit into the time
Yeah,
scale.
and something that you know about, something that you can write about, and you can visualize the end product. Like, I mean, I can see exactly what's happening here now, and that looks amazingly just
Yeah.
like that. It's incredible.
Well, we'll put in another few chords.
Here we go.
The foreground is now dry, so that will allow us to put
Yeah.
in some of the detail. But you can see the way it's building up. Are you pleased with the way
It's
coming along?
incredible. I mean, it's incredible how you just know when to apply certain colours, when to apply more water, and all with one brush too, of course,
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, we've done the whole painting with one brush, and you don't need a lot of brushes.
No.
You know, if you have a brush that'll do the job, stick with it. We're going to put in some of the foreground detail. And
Uh-huh.
look at this little seaweed fence
Oh, yeah, the
running
collapsed
across
fence
the
there.
foreground. Now, it's on a bit of sheep wire, but I don't think it's that attractive on sheep wire, so let's put in a few posts to hang the
Okay.
seaweed on.
Right.
So just using the number 5 brush, and this is a lot smaller,
Yeah.
it's comes to a very fine point. We can just put in a few little posts like that.
Okay.
Now, don't have them straight because
Yeah.
they look better if they're
a
not
bit battered,
straight.
aren't they?
They are. They've been battered by the waves. So try that. Now, rest your finger as you would a pencil.
Okay, and then follow this line here.
No, just put a few posts in. You know, they're not there at all, so we have to manufacture a few. That'll do. And one over here, say. That'll do. Now, let me get the rigger, which is a smaller brush again.
Yeah.
And this comes to a very fine point, and we can put in a little bit of fencing on that. See,
Oh,
just
yeah.
a fine line like that. Try that.
Okay, swap.
Swap over. Let's do another one.
Underneath.
Yeah. and don't have them even, you know, lost and found, broken lines. Using the side of the brush, I'm just going to hang a few little bits of seaweed like that.
See, the skill is coming out now. Very good.
Try that. Just using the side of the brush, pull down, get it rested on the top and pull it down. And you see the belly of the brush will tear across the rough surface of the paper,
Yeah.
and give you that broken effect. You see, anywhere that the sunlight is hitting the stone is going to be light.
Yeah.
If you look there on the stones themselves, they have a dark side that is in shadow, and that's going to be dark. So we must put the dark side on when the light side is dry.
Okay. So just
Couple
keep
more
going.
there. I'll just give you some more paint on
Yeah,
that.
do.
And if you go in too soon with the dark colour, then the dark side bleeds through into the light side, so you have to be very careful of that.
Right.
Now, let's get a dark colour. And this is a mixture of ultramarine and light red.
Okay.
Just get some of that mixed. And this should be dry, let me see. Yeah, so there's a dark side to that stone. On the left hand side and underneath. Left hand side and underneath.
Alright, because the light's falling on top and then
Yes,
casting that
exactly.
shadow.
Now you have to be careful, try you a couple there. You have to be careful that the underlying wash is dry, otherwise it'll bleed. That'll do. And put a little bit of an angle on that. Like.
Oh yeah, right. I'm glad you're here, Dermot, that's all I've got to say.
Well really, Brian, we're just finishing off here by putting in some of this greenery in the
Yeah.
foreground. And you can look there, we're putting in maybe a wee bit more greenery than there really is, but you don't want to overdo the stones.
No.
Because they would draw the eye too much into that area, and you
Yeah.
want the eye to see the whole painting. So take the flat brush and just finish that in a broken way towards the foreground, leaving some light green, some dark green.
Yeah.
But really we're talking about some more interest in the foreground, and all you'll have to do after that is sign it. How have you found it?
I mean, it's so methodical for a start. It makes a great deal of sense. I thought it was going to be an awful lot harder, but you've explained it really clearly. And like I say, because I have that connection with music in terms of building up the layers of it and so on, how I would go about writing a song, it makes a great deal of sense. I love it.
Keep it simple, Brian, at the end of the day. and
Easy
it's
for you to
love.
say, Dermot.
Brian certainly enjoyed his first outing in watercolours, so join me again next time for more painting around Ireland.